Shio and Reese. I am Sancho West, a longtime Sundown. Together, we form Sancho. I'm going to stick to that to the end of days. And we're getting to the end of our tournament here, day 2. The opportunities are fleeting for our bubble teams, and we're going to take a quick tour of that soon. But let's take a look at the overall spread. Pretty standard. Not seeing anything crazy. No changes in drop spots. No one contesting the Dunes domain. No one going to Stark Industry. It's going to be a simple affair, but that simplicity will get complex as zones start pushing everybody together in another centralized zone here, Sundown.
Yeah, we're pulling to the middle again, so relatively even spread for all of the rotations. The players on the outside are going to be very happy about that. One thing to note in particular on this map, almost every single spot is uncontested. There's at least enough space where people are going to be able to loot and not be forced to 50-50 off of the map, which I generally kind of expect at this point in the game. When you're able to kind of get those first initial just like pokes out, you kind of figure out like, hey, somebody's going to be at this spot. I can't go there right away. But right now, uncontested, victors from last match sealing their way into the grand finals. Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson, I mean, they've just played so incredibly well. Again, we talked about it, currently sitting at 166 points combined on the back of 2 wins and 57 eliminations. The eliminations are second only to Thomas HD's trio and Vadil's trio, and I mean, they've been pretty active.
And to kind of put a little bit more focus on this trio, is that Tayson and Mitro did that without Mongrel. Mongrel going down in the in-game, Mitro and Tayson were kind of just holding on as a duo, and they did that. Something that was very unexpected, but now they... I did hear a glider come through. I'm not sure. A little bit of brief moment is getting scared, because you know how it goes, man, with these changes, and once it gets to the end of these tournaments, you know, some teams are going to start swinging for haymakers, and they get a little bit of desperate to trying to change their fate there, Sundown.
Yeah, because you have to remain in kind of shooting distance of that 8th place spot. We talked about it last game being 100, right around being the line. Well, lucky for you if you were on the line. 8th is still at 101. However, the difference being that 7th, 6th, and 5th are all within 2 points of each other. The first 4, if you're not in the top 4 at this point, well, you're probably not going to get in there, or you're not going to push them out of a top 8 spot. They're locked in. They're going to grand finals. It would take an absurd push from the rest of the lobby and some phenomenally bad games from them to be kept out. So we will be seeing Flickanos, Thomas H. Steele, Vadil, Fastroki, Eccentric Kylie, Vettel, iDrop, and Stursix, as well as Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson in the grand finals on Saturday and Sunday.
The question is, can Kaspersa and Fixie and Zini, who have been such like a underdog story that we've been watching, that they're up-and-comers coming into the scene, getting in through the series accumulative track, not qualifying for any of the rounds at the round 3 stage. They started off hot. They were in the top 5, and they're just slipping further and further down the board, already now sitting at 9th place. Only 1 point behind that 8th threshold, though, that 8th place threshold, but still, the performances has been so far on a downward slope, and I'm always the belief of the power of positivity. No negative vibes here, only positive vibes here. And that is one of these trios that we're going to keep an eye on here in these remaining 2 games. Game 5 here. This is such a scary moment, man, for this trio. You know this. I mean, we saw them at the end of the tail end of the broadcast in day 1 kind of struggle. A lot of people started pushing them. A lot of people started knowing where they were going because they were heavy placement players. And they got eliminated very early on. So these are the interesting stories that we're going to watch here, as they're already... I don't know, man. I'm just so worried. I mean, there's a little bit of moments where they stop the brakes, but now they're outside looking in.
They are outside looking in, but it's only by a point. They have the best opportunity to contest. I think one of the benefits of playing as a most consistent team is now when you're in these situations. It's game 5 of 6 today, as you see in the top right. We're 11 of 12 overall. This is it if you're not able to get in the top 16. And then, even then, it's just a lifeline to the wild card match. But when you play for consistency, when you're playing to just kind of get in to that top 10 with a couple of eliminations every single time, when you're eking out just really kind of, they're just averaging 10 points a game right now, which, like we talked about, that's a top 10 with 3 eliminations, right? If that's been your game plan, it's a little bit less pressure on you in those last 2 games than when, like, hey, majority of our points have come from these monstrous 2 games, right, that have really pushed themselves forwards and been in there. Like, if we look at the 8th place team right now, they were not performing well yesterday. Void, Monster, and Pinkay struggled yesterday. However, today they had that huge victory royale, and then another really positive game. But if anything, to me, that puts more pressure on them, because if you look at the bulk of their work, they're not getting those key points in the games where they need them. And I have more faith in Ziny, Kaspersa, and Fixie to come up clutch in the moments when all you need are a couple placement points. I'll put my money on the consistent team in those circumstances.
Okay, this is another trio that could put that pressure on Sundown's bet, and that is Zappy, Michael, and Wakey. There are 5 points away from overcoming, at least getting into that 8-9 discussion here. That's how close it can be. The Lady Night Craigie Cliffs. Craigie Cliffs has been one of the strongholds in the FNCS trio across all regions. Just the ability, as you see, the Rift can allow you to third party on injured trios, leaving those powered POIs. And so far, Snappy Michael, I mean, they had a strong finish in day 1. They tweeted out, they figured out how to get the end game, and they kind of hold on tight here for those brief moments here as they're going for that highlight sniper double shot, only getting 1 tag rewarded for their push. These are another trio that's on the bubble, and the bubble keeps changing here, Sundown, after every match.
Yeah, and you've seen kind of the teams rotating in and out of it, but Wakey and Snappy were the winners coming through of the FNCS squads last time we came through in Europe. So it would be a little bit upsetting for them being kept out in the heat space, particularly in one of those bigger team game modes. They've had a ton of success, particularly together when they're able to find the right combinations. And Michael has kind of slotted into their team relatively well. They haven't necessarily had kind of those high and dominant moments that we saw back in squads when Wakey was playing kind of on another level at that time, but they're still more than capable of doing it, as we've seen here. The question is, again, with 2 games left, who is going to rise to the occasion and push themselves into the top 8? Because we've seen 4 of those spots have locked up. It's a question on whether or not basically 3 of these guys can hold on, and then there's 1 spot that's really up for grabs.
And you do not want to have this moment if you're the Godsend Co trio right now with Mongrel, Mitra, and Tayson looking over you, standing over you, having an opportunity just to pad their leaderboard standings. Here is another team from the N10 Trio and Co. that are kind of just on 7th right now. They have a little bit of a buffer. You know, they have a, let me take a look at real quick again. The leaderboard is Sundown. Where you got this trio right now?
I was just about to say one of the M10 trios is currently hanging out in there, but that is not Sniper God and Co. These guys have struggled a little bit more, and they're mostly on the outside looking in currently. You can see that they've had not necessarily the best of combination of days, but just trying to find a little bit of space. 29 points right now, and rotating up towards the top side and trying to get a little bit of room here, as we also see that Benji is able to pick up an Elim in the feed. Lecce also going to add on to it. They're one of the trios who is trying to hold on right now. They currently have a 15-point buffer from that line going into this game. They're trying to open it up, but right now an ambush being set up by the M10 player.
All right, this is still an opportunity to 2 pop-off games could happen here. This is what we're going to watch now. They have some tools. They got the power weapons. They have the mobility and the shockwaves. We saw Savage holding on to 5 shockwaves at one point. Can N10 Sniper God here hold on to that valuable piece? As we're seeing Void, Pinkay, and Monster Muncher, the team that's on the bubble here, kind of right now, they're sitting at 8th place right now, Sunday.
Yeah, and I was able to find these guys. I apologize because of the name swap on there. Sniper God, a.k.a. M10 Karma, currently sitting in 11th with 95 points. So they're 6 points off of that bubble. So you are right on the outside looking in, as we were talking about. So far, a little bit slower from their pace yesterday as compared to today. But we're trying to see what Astro, SMZ, Mexi, and OT Exponential can do, finding some good shots and some good tags right now, as anticipated. Once we get into these later games, when everything is on the line, there's probably going to be a little bit more of a Storm Surge threat in those first 2 circles.
Yeah, absolutely. Now everyone playing a little tight. not that loose. This trio that you're seeing here is in 13th place. So they're right there, and they could easily slip out of that 16th place, which will not enable them to be in that wild card. Their lifelines could be all outs as Hardfire loses a little bit of shield, getting a little bit greedy there. And these are the kind of builds that we're seeing these trios make, and they kind of leave a lot of angles open for a snipe or an AR shot. And yes, you know, hey, I'm still alive, but you're going to have to expend some of your trio's loot right there. Use up some of your shields. And I've always remembered Monster D-Face saying, yeah, I know I got an 18 tag, but I know I took at least a mini out of that trio's inventory.
Which ends up being beneficial. And then one thing I want to talk about, we haven't seen this weapon nearly at all. The scoped AR, while most of the variants have been vaulted, still the legendary epic are out there, able to be found on the map, and those tags are so valuable for Storm Surge. It is effectively a hit scan weapon with that little bit of kind of a 2-time scope coming through, and even a player like Bexifind is going to be able to, every single time he hits you, hey, body shots or a mini going off of it, headshots are a big shield. And if he's able to kind of run you through those end up being just so incredibly painful, as we're going to hop on board here with yet another one of our bubble teams, Vitality Nickoff, ATX Blaster, and you have Alpha as well, trying to get some shots in towards the team up top at Dooms and just putting pressure down onto them.
This trio is currently sitting at 12th place, only behind just about 10. So if they get a 10 finish right there, they're going to look really solid. As Blaster, Nickoff, and Alpha, who've been on the back end of some unfortunate social media posts, especially Nickoff, but we thought Blaster and Alpha and Nickoff would have a strong showing. We gave them a highlight package going into this day, going into heats, showing that they did really well consistently in the qualifiers, and just haven't found that kind of their solidified, like the concrete stance right now, that power stance from Nickoff, Alpha, and Blaster. We did see them a little bit in-game in the previous game, but they're going to have to string together at least 2 games to at least kind of be in contention for that top 8.
I mean, they're right on the outside looking in right now, currently sitting on 93 points. They had a tough day yesterday, but 63 points so far in the first 4 games is well above their average. They're doing about 50% better in terms of their average points compared to yesterday. And right now, I'm seeing a little bit more aggression out of them. And I think when this trio's back is to the wall particularly, they have enough experience between them. I mean, Alpha and Blaster have been playing together forever, going all the way back to the dual media days in the World Cup. And I mean, Nickoff has been around some of the best players in Fortnite, whether it was the Solari group and now playing with the Vitality crew. He has tons of experience, and they're going to be able to actually pick up the elimination onto swaps, a trio who has been charging today largely on the back of their aggressive eliminations. However, meeting a defensive wall here as J-Kai is a huge shot from Alpha, and they're going to be pushing even closer into contention range now.
That trio that you mentioned that they're up against here, playing that defensive versus trio, is known to take out top names. They always find a way to take out top 10 trios. So that is a moment right there that Alpha was able to capitalize, get that going. And this is the bubble team that just got to keep up and just stand tall against the pressure that is coming down on them.
And one of the key things about that bubble team, we talked about them having it tough yesterday. They're competing for a wild card spot. So them getting taken down there is absolutely massive. Going into this match, they were 11 points off of even getting into that wild card match. Now getting shut down there, it's going to take a monumental effort. That elimination effectively ended their tournament run, saving any heroics for the last game.
That's what's happening. You got people on the bubble that are going to the top 8, a guaranteed seat at the round table, so to speak, and then you have the people from 9 and 16 that are kind of being held out by those top teams, and that is the danger, man. There's not enough elims to go around for everybody. Eventually, the big dogs of Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson will kind of scourge and take up all those elims, and the same thing for placement points. The great players, the great trios will eat up all those placement points, leaving some of our trios for scraps, and hey, longest you get in Sundown, longest as you have a chance, you could still walk away an FNCS Trios champion.
So you're saying there's a chance. Well, for one trio, their chances are limited, as we saw Zestin Orion at 1 point off, aka Scout, getting taken down there. Another trio who might be losing their chance. We just talked about him. Wakey gets woken up there. Hello, were you asleep? Not going to be able to convert. Taken down in the moments when you have to be clutch. The 10th place team falls to our 4th place Titans, and they want to make sure they clean it all up. Again, we've talked about it. They're going to the big dance, and they're all about just shutting down the opportunities for their challengers to rise up.
We talk about that round table. These are the knights at this round table currently sitting there, solidifying their opportunity to compete for the big doggy Axe of Champions. And already so many things are lining their way. Uncontested start, going in with pop-off games, 2 of them double elims, 1 of them a 19 elim game. But now we're watching another trio that's all just doing really well here. They got to put it together here. They already have a victory royale today, Sundown.
They have a victory route today. They're currently sitting in 5th. These are one of the trios who has to just hold on. They're even with Benji and Co, but head because of that VR tiebreaker. They're one of the trios who just needs to keep getting endgame, keep getting points. Already have 3 points so far here, but with 20 trios remaining, they're going to want to see a positive resolution to this fight because they have no excess shields right now, and that's a huge shot getting the full elimination onto Nako, getting over a key siphon there onto Ensar, getting a little bit of additional mats because you can see they're hurting. And the key is, look at the bottom right, Sancho. There is nobody else who isn't already in the zone on this side of the map. They're going to be eating all of this fire as they rotate in.
As no one from the zone is looking, kind of use that aquatic rotation right there, able to breathe just a little bit and find that slice of the pie, that delicious safe zone pie, just to get in as much as possible. 415 along storm damage right now. The storm surge is about to turn off, but they walk right into a trap. They tried to get that pie off that windowsill, but all of a sudden the cook came out of nowhere and hit the rolling pin right on their fingers, and this will be a bad opportunity right there. You talked about it. In that 5th place, they could still slip out of it at this moment here, considering that there's 2 games and our bubble teams could easily pop off and take their spot from them. But hold your horses there, Sancho. We're going to be able to get up our partner here, but it could be a moment fleeting here, Sundown.
And we talked about the fleeting moments and the fleeting inventories of these players and being forced to burn through. And while they didn't convert over, they have the bandage can to get them back up to 100, but no excess shield. And that is going to be the price you pay getting stuck on this outside zone rotation. They're going to be forced to tarp in, and we're going to want to keep an eye on that top left corner. One player will need to fall for Storm Surge to turn off, so not too big of a threat. That 25 damage coming down, just striking one person with the purple lightning from the sky. And right now you can see just trying to find a little bit of room as Ensar and Maestro begin firing shots over, and they're going to try and open up some space just for the rotation. The idea behind spraying that wall is to make sure they can get inside and now begin to work through this tarp. The question is, can they find more as they're just walking directly into the box of the player, going to find the crash pads burnt? Can they find this player who's edited in from the other side? No. He's going to be able to get out and disengage. Instead, finds a huge pump shot, and that's Richard, and they're going to make sure they throw him back because they want all of his excess utility, as now their backs are against the wall with the storm on one side and a max pull and the rest of the lobby in between them and the opportunity to get placement points. Styler's going to be left to get ticked out. W Key is at a fraction of a percent of HP, which means it is all on the back of 200, 200, 200, aka Maestro, with a legendary pump, a bandage cannon, a full rotation, and a dream.
And only one arrow in his stance is Jachu right now, holding him down. He's going to make his way, and Jachu converts. Done. Toast. Jachu now is the solo star for that trio. That was a 1v1 out there in the storm side. And we did see Void right there and Pink K Monster Muncher, our 8th place team, still up, holding on tight. But here is another team that no one is really talking about, is I dropped Stir 6 and Battle. I dropped 7. Bang! Gets a knock right there, and that's going to be a huge, as they're going to have to ride this ride without Battle. But I drop in Stir 6. They don't count. Oh my goodness! Hold on! No! Oh my goodness, the caster curse is strong for a moment as Stir 6 now has to be a solo stars. We're seeing the Lone Rangers of the EU region kind of work solo style. Can Stir 6 hopefully hide just a little bit and snake this recovery on his partner?
Honestly, I think the play is not to recover him. I think the play is to toss him out into the storm inside that box and take the slurpfish. He has 2 slurpfish. You'll be able to make the play by yourself rather than enabling him and forcing him to use that utility. But we're now going to hop back on board over on the side as we're here with Frostroki and Co. currently in 2nd place. We still have our 1st place trio up as well, but they've already cemented their spot into the grand finals. Right now, they're just trying to keep anybody else out and get whatever reps they can. We're into our top 15 as well, which means every single trio that drops is an extra placement point coming through. Everyone who's in has already gained 3. As Void, the team who is in 8th, is still up as well and getting eliminations. They're accumulating points. They're squeezing that leaderboard, and their chance to make the grand finals that much closer and that much farther away from the rest of the field.
I was going to say, where is Flick and Nas, as Thomas A. Shia you just mentioned? They are on height at the moment, but it is Benji, Lecce, and Savage who are sitting at 6th place. The chances of them slipping out can still be a possibility. I mean, we have been seeing Savage, Lecce, and Benji produce a low point average, but this is when they start getting good in this 5th and 6th game of the day. Last time they closed out their qualifying was the only time they were there in the qualifying rounds. In round 3, they closed out with a very top 3 finish where Benji clutched. Can Savage, Lecce, and Benji have a strong performance as they're kind of operating as a trio here at the mid-ground? And this is a first taste of the mid-ground. There's so much scariness that could happen down below. We've seen throughout the day, edit plays can happen at a moment's notice. And no matter how good you are, Sundown, if you get dropped and edit down, it's just so hard to recover your aim and to find your footing at that brief moment of losing that gravity.
Yeah, but super beneficial for them. This is all their old builds. You notice how Savage wasn't building for 90%. He was just re-editing his old stuff, and that's going to enable him to find a pick as well. There are 5 eliminations coming through, and this could be their qualification. We talked about them just having to hold on, but a big game here will push them away, as this is our 2nd to last game coming out of Europe, and the true tale is our teams 1 and 2 battling for the high ground. That was a metaphor for the entirety of this tournament, as you saw Adil and Co. trying to make the aggressive play, but Thomas just barely able to hold them off. They have their entirety of their trio on the high ground for what feels like the first time. Flick is going to be able to convert onto Ziny in the top right, as Frostroki actually takes down Benji Fishy on the backside of the low ground in the bottom right, and we have our top 10, but the top trio is just putting their stamp on it while everyone else fights at the bottom, clawing for whatever placement points they can, trying to get into the top 8. And right now, eyes are on Nikov, Alpha, and whether or not they're going to be able to hold on, as we just get a look at 2 of the top trios in our top right and bottom right. And you can see them just controlling the flow of the game.
Nikov goes down, and that was a bubble team. They have to hold on as much as possible. Alpha is still in this fight, so that's going to be big for them that they are sitting in 9th place. And it's so important to rack up these placement points, these opportunities. These are the moments that they capitalize, as Savage capitalizes, and Flick and Thomas are capitalizing on their strong position on the high ground. This could be the one that kind of vaults them all the way and get that 1st place and get that solidifying social media post, as Savage is holding strong versus Tayson. So this is a battle, a 3v2. We're going to get a nice little preview of the grands right here. It is Anas, Thomas, and Flick going against Tayson. Tayson's trio's up. Savage goes down. Actually, yes! Connection complete. Flick comes in, gets a big-time elim on Tayson and the Victory Royale. Another statement made, Sundown.
That was monstrous there. You can see Savage with the top